There's a corner of Big Bend National Park where you can soak in the thermal waters heated by the Earth's magma, hike a deceptively dangerous desert trail, and eat lunch in a foreign country. And if you're not careful...
Oh, they tipped over.
Oh no.
Please tell me they didn't tip the camera over.
In this episode of Beyond the Trail, the Wild Yeti team, we step away from our expedition documentary series to give you the boots on the ground intel you need to become a Big Bend expert before you even pack the car. We're taking you from Studi Butte to the river put in, all the way to Boquillas, Mexico. We'll show you 3 ways to get to the hot springs and why the easy hike to Rio Grande village can actually be deadly. And we'll give you the essential checklist for crossing the border. Plus, we'll show you exactly where I face planted into the Rio Grande in front of a live audience. Oh! Sure, you can drive to some of the spots we're talking about today, but if you want the best perspective, without hiking miles in the dust and the heat, you need to get on the water. The Terlingua Studi Butte area is full of legendary outfitters like the pros at Far Flung or our friend Tony Drury. But for this mission, we hooked up with the folks at Big Bend Boating and Hiking Company, where Elena was in charge of leading the expedition. Now we got an extra layer of excitement when we were joined by one of the original Big Bend river runners, Mike Davidson. For me, the stakes were a little bit higher than usual. My daughter Carly had joined us on this shoot. Up to this point, it really had been a perfect father-daughter work trip. Unfortunately, neither Elena nor Mike's experience could save us from, well, me. I certainly didn't have a $20,000 oopsie on my bingo card that day, but stick around. For now, let's focus on what we think is the best way to get to the hot springs, the river. When you're on the Rio Grande, the perspective changes completely. It's so peaceful. But stay mindful that you are literally floating on an international border. To your left is the United States. To your right is Mexico. And all around you is the beauty and the wild of the Big Bend. And if you're lucky, you'll spot some wildlife on your trip. As you make your way down the river, do what Elena suggested that we do, and that is put your hand in the water every so often. You're going to feel it get significantly warmer in spots. And that's because the hot springs isn't just a single hole in the ground. It's part of a massive fault line system that pushes thermal water up through the cracks all along the riverbed. Now that warm water was our first hint that the current was delivering us right where we wanted to go, the doorstep of the historic hot springs. No matter how you get here, the hot springs it's like the ultimate oasis at the mouth of the canyon. Once you're there, you are standing in the ruins of the J.O. Langford bathhouse. Back in the early 1900s, people traveled for weeks to soak in these waters for its healing properties. Today, the roof is gone, but the plumbing is still perfect. 105 degrees Fahrenheit, heated by the earth right on the edge of the river. It's the perfect place to reset your muscles if you're hiking or canoeing. But before you get in, there is one rule you need to follow. Do not put your head underwater. Because this is a natural thermal spring, and there can be microorganisms in the water that you definitely do not want in your sinuses. So soak your back, soak your legs, but keep your head above the water. We mentioned we're going to talk about 3 ways to get here. We arrived by canoe, but you can certainly drive here. From the Panther Junction Visitor Center, which is another great place to stop, it's about 19 miles before the turnoff to Hot Springs Road. From there, it's about a 2-mile drive to the main parking lot. Now, the road to the hot springs can sometimes be tricky. It's a very bumpy dirt and rock track. It's rough, it's washboarded, and in some places, it cuts along a fairly steep little canyon that is barely wide enough for one car. I say this because if you have a massive RV or if you're towing a trailer, please do not attempt this road. Leave the big rigs at the campsite. Now, if you make the drive, it really is beautiful and definitely worth it. When you get into the parking lot, it's an easy 1/4 mile or so past some beautiful palm trees to get to the actual hot springs. If you're looking for a serious hike, which is the third way to get to this oasis, the trailhead begins at the hot springs, and it leads you in the opposite direction of the parking lot. It's also where things can get a little bit dicey and sometimes dangerous. Right behind the hot springs, you'll find a trailhead, and this is the path that connects the springs to Rio Grande village. On a map, it looks pretty harmless, a very seemingly simple 3-mile connector. But don't let the mileage fool you. This trail can be a solar oven. The trail cuts through bright white limestone layers, and in the afternoon, that rock reflects the sun's radiation right back up at you. And there's just simply no shade. It's essentially like an outdoor microwave. And yes, there have been people who underestimated this very specific stretch of trail, and they've paid the ultimate price. Dehydration hits faster here than almost anywhere in the park. And if you want to hike this, and you should because the views from the bluffs are incredible, you need to follow some simple rules. Try to start your hike at sunrise, and then by 11 a.m. you really should be off this trail. Bring a gallon of water per person. No little plastic bottles. Bring plenty of water. And also, wear a hat. Underestimating the desert can be a way more costly mistake than what I made with our camera gear. Equipment can be replaced. You can't. So please don't take this advice lightly. Finally, we arrive at the Boquillas port of entry. Now, the main parking lot for the border crossing is about a 20-mile drive from Panther Junction. Usually, as your tour guide, this is where we would show you the rowboat ride, the burro rides, the tacos and margaritas on the other side. But for us, sadly, this is where our journey stops. Here is the reality of being a production team. When we go on a shoot, we have Pelican cases full of cinema lenses and camera bodies. Crossing an international border with commercial gear isn't like crossing with an iPhone. You need permits and carnets to shoot in a foreign country. And now, if you don't know, a carnet is basically like a passport for equipment. It proves to the Mexican government that we aren't going to sell our gear in Mexico. And without that paperwork, crossing the border for us is like a roll of the dice. We always try to follow professional protocols. So on this trip, we stayed on the Texas side. However, if you're traveling light, crossing here is a must-do. Just make sure you follow these rules. Bring your passport. Essential. No exceptions. If you don't have it or a passport card, don't go. You're going to want to bring cash for the rowboat ride and the burro ride and the food. Now, we're told that these are some of the best tacos you'll ever have, so you're going to want to bring cash to buy some. Obviously, no weapons. Leave the firearms in Texas. Mexican federal law is strict, and you don't want to find that out the hard way. Pro tip, please don't bring back any rocks or plants or wildlife or any untagged artifacts. It's a federal offense, and don't worry, you'll find plenty of beautiful handcrafted items for sale. Since we couldn't make the journey across the border, we want to hear from you about your experiences. If you've been to Boquillas recently, help out the Wild Yeti community. Drop a comment below. Give us your best tip for the crossing to help out those who might be making the same trip sometime soon. And as always, we have some great resources that we recommend for you to contact if you have any questions, and they're all listed in the description. And now for the most embarrassing moment I've ever had on a shoot in the 30-plus years I've been producing. My very silly and costly faceplant into the Rio Grande. It's kind of a long story, but I'm going to tell you the short version. Let's start with the rapids. They were raging that day on the Rio Grande. They were deep and they were violent. And Class 5 rapids have a way of doing that, and they present serious problems for camera crews, and we were at tremendous risk going over them.
So I'm going to go down and get set, and then this boat's going to go behind me.
Elena had asked us to put the cameras down so we could navigate a deceptively tricky stretch of river. My first mistake was underestimating the very shallow, and let's face it, not so rapid rapids. So I simply wrapped my camera and lens up in my coat and set it at the bottom of the canoe. Now, Carly and I certainly did not make the perfect passage through this area, but we managed to get through the worst of it until we got right about here. That's where the front of the canoe got lodged into these rocks right there. Now, I took the oar and I was pushing down as hard as I could, trying to free the canoe from the rocks, but it just wouldn't budge. And this is when mistake number 2 happened. I took some action, but I failed to communicate that to Carly. I went to step out of the canoe into this very, very shallow water, and I was just going to free the canoe, just push it out, and then I was going to hop back in and start filming. But as I went to step out, Carly, unaware what my plan was, she shifted in the exact same direction that I went. In a split second, our entire canoe flipped. Everything went right into the water, including several Pelican cases and some other equipment. Now, special shout out to Pelican cases. All of the gear that was safely locked away did not get a single drop on it. So thank you, Pelican, for protecting us from an even more expensive moment. The good news is we were able to continue forward and finish the shoot of our documentary series, Expedition Tales of the Big Bend. Now, in this series, we feature some amazing people and amazing places, including the crown jewel of Big Bend National Park, and the topic of our next Beyond the Trail, Santa Elena Canyon. That should be a fun one. We sure appreciate all your support, so please continue to hit like and subscribe and the notification bell and share this with your friends, and we'll see you next time on Beyond the Trail.